Okay, this is Parabolas, section 9.2. This is part 3, and we're going to talk about parabolas that are in general form. So for example, here's our first example down here. Y squared minus 10y plus 8x plus 1 equals 0. That's in general form. So what we're going to do is, for this particular one, we're going to write it in standard form. Then we're going to find the vertex, the focus, the directrix, and the length of the latus rectum, and also show the graph. Okay, so what this means, if it's in general form, you're going to have to do some completing the square. Now, only one of the variables is squared. In this example, it's y. So you'll be completing the square on y squared minus 10y to make that a perfect square trinomial. X has no square, is not going to be a square. So basically, we're going to move those to the other side. So we'll subtract 8x and subtract 1 from both sides. And then we'll complete the square on the y squared minus 10y. This is where you take negative 10, divide it by 2, and then square it. And then you come up with 25, and we'll have to add that to the right. And then this is the square of y minus 5. So we have y minus 5 squared is equal to negative 8x plus 24. Now, we're trying to put it into our form with the y minus k squared. So we need this to have x minus h, not negative 8. So we're going to factor out the negative 8 from those two terms here. So basically divide both of these by negative 8. So we'll have negative 8 times the quantity x minus 3. Now, that matches up to our general form, y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. And so now we see that h is 3 and k is 5, so that will give us that the vertex is 3 comma 5. And our coefficient is negative 8. That's our value for 4p. So 4p equals negative 8, so p is equal to negative 2. All right, and since y is the one being squared, this will be a left-right kind of parabola. Since p is negative, it's going to be opening to the left. All right, so start with the vertex, which was 3, 5. 3, and then 5, there's the vertex. And then p, as a directed distance, tells you how to head to the focus. So it's negative 2, so then you would go 2 to the left, and then that will be the focus. Now, if you go 2 to the right, that's where the directrix will be. Okay. So we can see the directrix is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, x equals 5. The focus is going to be 1 comma 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the vertex we found was 3, 5. Okay, now the parabola is going to open like this. To get a couple more points on there, the y-axis is a little bit longer. All right, we're going to go from the focus, and we're going to use the value of 2p. Go up and then down. So well, the absolute value of p. So that would be 2, and then 2 times that would be 4. So we'll count up 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and those points are on the parabola. And there we have a graph of our parabola. Okay, all right, so we got everything except specifically the length of the latus rectum. Okay, so that would be this segment here. It goes through the focus, it's parallel to the directrix. So remember, this part's 4, that part's 4. So the length of the latus rectum then is equal to 8. Okay. Now, we'll look at one other one. We won't graph the whole thing. We'll just practice writing it in standard form. Okay, again, so it's starting in general form, and you're only going to complete the square on one of the variables, whichever one has a square. So x squared. So we're going to take these two terms and turn them into a perfect square trinomial. So we have x squared plus x plus something. The minus 5y and the 4, we don't need those. So we're going to add 5y to both sides and subtract 4. So on the right, we'll have 5y minus 4. Okay, so then the little trick, I've been doing it mentally, take this coefficient, divide it by 2 and square it. This coefficient is 1. If I divide it by 2, I'm going to have 1/2. And if I square that, that's going to give me 1/4. So that's what I'm going to add to both sides. Okay, so now I have to add a 1/4 over there. Okay, this is a perfect square trinomial. It's not quite as recognizable, but it's going to be x plus whatever the number was you got when you divided that by 2. This is x plus 1/2 squared equals 5y. Now we need to fix that up a little bit, get a common denominator. So -4, I'll multiply it by 4 over 4. So that's -16/4 plus 1/4. So that's going to be minus 15/4. Okay, and then the last part, remember, I'm trying to turn it into this x minus h squared equals 4p times y minus k. So we've got the left good. Over here, we need this to be y minus k, not 5y minus something. This needs to be 1. So whatever this number is here, we're going to factor that out, which means divide it out. So from this step to this one, I'll still have x plus 1/2 squared equals 5 times the quantity y minus, so you're going to take 15/4 and divide it by 5. So you could do that mentally. 15 divided by 5 would do 3, so I'll give you 3/4. All right, if you check it, 5 times 3/4, that would be 15/4. You could also work it out. If you take 15/4 and divide it by 5, that would be 15/4 times 1/5. And then you could do a little reducing and come up with a 3/4 that way. But this would be the standard form.